But let's move on to another story, a very interesting one, I must say. The world's first vaccine against malaria will be introduced in Ghana and 2 other African countries, Kenya and Malawi, starting next year. The RTSS vaccine trains the immune system to attack the malaria parasite, which is spread by mosquito bite. The World Health Organization says the jab has the potential to save tens of thousands of lives. Deputy Health Minister Kingsley Jedu made the announcement at the launch of World Malaria Day today.
I'm happy to announce that another effective method for tackling the disease is about to be rolled out in Ghana. This is the malaria vaccine. Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi, have been selected to take part in WHO coordinated pilot program that will make the world's first malaria vaccine available in selected areas beginning in 2018. This vaccine, RTSS, has gone through more than 20 years of testing, and Ghana has played a major role in its development. The malaria vaccine pilot program will assess whether the vaccine's protective effect in children 5 months to 17 months old can be scaled up. Specifically, the pilot will assess the feasibility of delivering the required 4 doses of RTSS, the vaccine's potential role in reducing childhood deaths, and its safety in the context of routine use. The ministry has put together a team of experts to oversee the preparation and implementation of this pilot program to ensure the best outcome for the country and the world at large.
Well, we'll be speaking shortly to scientists working on the vaccine, but at the launch today, the Ghana Malaria Control Program announced some interesting details about how much of a feat Ghana has achieved working or fighting against malaria. Hannah Odame was there for us, and she joins me now in the studio. Hannah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Gifty. You look good in your pink.
Oh, thank you. It's always good to have you on the show. Hannah, tell us what it is we've achieved in the fight against malaria.
Well, Dr. Batch Planch, who is the National Director of the Malaria Control Program, she announced that Ghana, when we started rolling out this prevent malaria issue, we were at 20%.
Okay.
Now we have just
20%, meaning?
That's in 2009.
Okay.
Meaning that the prevalent rate
was 20%. Okay.
But as of last year, we were at 4.4%.
Okay. And also from 20 to 4%.
Exactly.
That's quite an achievement.
An achievement. And so she's extremely excited because, according to her, it was during her tenure that at least we were able to achieve this one. She, however, stated that if we are not careful, if we lose focus as a country, there may be a resurgence, because there have been some countries that have reached the same achievement. They were able to attain the same achievement.
And then they relaxed.
And then they relaxed, and so there was a resurgence. Okay. She's saying that we should make sure that the 2 important things that Ghana did, which is the indoor residual spraying, mostly in the upper west and the northern regions, which was done there, and sleeping in insecticide mosquito nets, should constantly be done every day. Okay. These are the 2 things that Ghana did. If we lose guard or we lose focus on those 2 things, there may be a resurgence. Okay. Let's hear more from her.
All right, we can hear from the horse's own mouth, shall we?
Made all this progress. Does it mean it's been smooth sailing? No. There have been challenges, and there are still challenges. The challenge is still to do with the resistance and the use of the nets. Even though we've shown, and everywhere, the whole world shows that if you use the nets, malaria can really be, you can be prevented from getting malaria. Still, there are people who do not want to use it. And the resistance to insecticides are also emerging, especially with where they are doing indoor residual spraying. We have a pain, and the pain is the attitude on the use of the nets. People bring in the nets, donors, governments, to support the country. If you will not sleep in the net, please give it to somebody who will sleep in it. I have personally seen it. They do their garden and they use the net to, as a, what you call the border. Oh, if you follow them, they are using the net to cover. It's really painful and sad. So please, become co-advocates for us. When you see people doing that, kindly stop them and say, please stop. The other challenge we have is the irrational use of drugs. You think you have malaria, you are buying the medicine. The medicines also, you know, have side effects. Make sure you have malaria. Test, please, before you treat. Malaria prevalence has reduced. Malaria deaths have come down. There are only 2 regions in Ghana now that we can say are truly hyper-endemic. So the question to us all is, are we on the path for pre-elimination and elimination?
Dr. Bas-Planche, the very interesting irrational use of malaria drugs as well as abuse of mosquito nets. What do you use your mosquito nets for? Actually, I don't sleep in one.
I can't sleep in one either, but my children will have to sleep in one.
Okay, yeah. So they've added, of course, to the reduction of the prevalent rate,
exactly.
which is quite a feat, and it's good.
But
and
I hope you don't take the malaria drugs. You don't abuse it just because you feel a headache.
I think the malaria mosquitoes don't like me, so they don't. I don't remember ever having malaria anyway. So let's talk about the First Lady. We understand she was there as well. What has been her own contribution to the launch of this vaccine?
You know, she has a malaria infantile foundation.
Okay.
She's been working on malaria issues even before she became the First Lady. Okay. And so today she launched a foundation, the Ghana Malaria Foundation. There's a goal, there's a target that by 2020 Ghana would have reduced malaria drastically. That's why we have the theme, End Malaria for Good. Okay. And so we want that particular mosquito, that particular parasite that bites at night, that particular mosquito that bites you to get malaria, it bites at night, it doesn't like dirty water. We just want to get rid of that mosquito in Ghana. Sri Lanka has done it. Okay. And so she said that for the launch of this foundation came about as a result of donor funds dwindling, and you know, because of our status now. So middle income. And so corporate organizations in Ghana will have to bring their resources, particularly financial resources, together. Okay. Let's bridge that gap where the donor funds dwindle. We bring in the gap. So she launched the foundation headed by Prince Amwabeng, who is the CEO of UT Holdings. Yes, and we had other personalities also on board, corporate organizations. They are going to solicit for funds to ensure that, Ghana does not stay there, or we do not lose guard whenever the funds dwindle.
Okay, well, we can hear from the First Lady as well. Sounds very much like what her husband has been saying, a Ghana without aid. Let's hear her now.
Ghana has made significant progress by reducing malaria deaths by over 60%. In fact, today she said it's over 70%. This has been possible with the tremendous support of the Ghana government, our health partners, and other organizations working with a common aim to beat malaria. A lot of investment has been made for us to witness this tremendous progress, and we must commend all the actors involved. Me, Chair, ladies and gentlemen, however, we need to sustain the gains and do even more if we have to eliminate malaria. This calls for more and sustained investment. There is a large gap in our funding levels, which needs to be filled in order to achieve a malaria-free Ghana, and this is where the business community can lend its support. For the malaria burden is not felt only in the health sector, but in every aspect of our social and economic life. We all know the devastating effect of malaria, not only on the general population, but on businesses. The cost is huge, and businesses can no longer remain indifferent to the fight against malaria. Every business in Ghana has a worker who has suffered malaria before and knows the cost malaria has on its profitability. This disease affects all businesses: agriculture, banking, manufacturing, hospitality, just to mention a few. This fact makes malaria a cause and consequence of low productivity and underdevelopment. I therefore appeal to the corporate world to support this cause. By investing in the fight against malaria, you'll be exercising your power to stop deaths due to malaria. At the same time, your investments will generate real returns, as it will be a key driver of business growth.
That is the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, there launching that vaccine. So what else can we know from the program today?
Gifty, we all have to know that malaria prevention is free.
Okay.
It's free. The mosquito nets are free. Let's use it wisely. But there are two regions, the Upper West region and then the northern regions.
Okay.
They remain a bit volatile for now, and so the concentration is there.
Is there.
Yes, the malaria control program will make sure that at least those people there are malaria free, and then we can reach our target by 2020.
Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting that target of 2020, that the malaria will be drastically reduced. Well, let's now get some more on the new vaccine that's been introduced here in Ghana from next year to reduce this prevalence rate even further. Head of Research at Kintampo Health Research Center, Dr. Kweku Opoku-Asante, joins me on the line for that. Hello, Doctor. Thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse.
Hello, Gipsy. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners and viewers.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, would you please tell us about this, a little bit about this vaccine? What went into it?
Well, so we are talking about the first human parasite vaccine and also the first malaria vaccine that has been approved or given a scientific opinion, a positive scientific opinion by the European Medicines Agency. And this is exciting news. This is the vaccine that was developed by GSK, which is a pharmaceutical company. And it's been undergoing serious scrutiny for its safety and efficacy over the past 30 years. Since 2009, Ghana had been involved in the third phase of this scientific scrutiny in terms of testing the vaccine in Kintampo and also in Agogo. But there were other countries that were involved, about 6 other countries with about 10 different sites that participated. Since we completed the trials, we realized that the vaccine is able to prevent about 4 out of 10 cases of clinical malaria among children who are given the vaccine between 5 to 17 months of age. And for a first malaria vaccine, this was very exciting to us as a scientific community and also as a donor, to the donors as well.
So why is it that, did you just say that the trials have been completed?
Yes, so for every drug or vaccine to be tested, it goes through various phases, from phase 1 to 4. We have just completed the third phase, and it's at this stage that the regulatory authorities and all other partners, other scientific persons will review the data that has been collected. Having said that, as at this point, the data has been reviewed by WHO and also by the European Medicines Agencies and by our regulatory authorities in Ghana. The next step is to, which is a recommendation that has been given by WHO, and today we had the Minister of Health announce to us that Ghana has been selected to go to the next stage, which is to pilot the vaccine, to give it on pilot basis and learn more lessons out of it before it is rolled out, if it would be.
On a full scale. So why Ghana? Why the choice of Ghana for the pilot project?
Well, the choice of Ghana, one, we were part of the malaria vaccine trials, and it was mainly based on the fact that Ghana has a robust scientific community, scientists who could do the work independently, and also a robust system of ethics approvals and also the regulatory framework. So we have a good Ghana Food and Drugs Authority that oversaw these clinical trials. Moving away from the period of the clinical trials into the pilot implementation phase, one was because we participated in the clinical trials and we did it quite well. And then also because our government also sought to do this pilot implementation with the various partners. So I think it's again a feather in our cap which we should embrace for the world having confidence in us as Ghanaians.
Talking about the world having confidence in us as Ghanaians and choosing Ghana for the trial, there are times that people don't quite understand what trials actually mean. So when we say trials, what exactly does it mean, especially with this vaccine? What exactly is going to happen? Like, how does it work?
So you're right, and that's why we are engaging the media, we are engaging the community, we are engaging everybody to discuss what trials mean. And when we say clinical trials, it means actually trying a vaccine or a drug to see whether it is safe and it is efficacious and it is supposed to do what it's supposed to do under very rigorous terms and under supervision by regulatory authorities.
Is that done with in the case of this particular trial, this particular malaria vaccine? Do you have to try it necessarily with a human being?
Yes, we did try it among human beings. So it had gone through various phases, as I said, right from adults. It had been tried in adults, it had been tried in older children, and then it went down to the target children who are affected by malaria most of the time.
And they were also successful, you said?
Yes, it was very successful. That's why we are here today, and that's why we are talking about it today. It was successful. It has largely a safety profile, and we want to go into the pilot implementation to learn a little bit more about it, how feasible it would be to implement it within the current EPI system or the expanded program of immunization system, whether and how well it will prevent mortality or death among the young children who are mainly affected by malaria.
So what's usually the level of risk associated with such trials?
Well, the level of risk is usually assessed by the ethics committees, and in Ghana, it was by the Ghana Health Service Ethics Committee, and also by the Ghana Food and Drug Authority. So they make their assessment and then come out with a positive opinion or not. And I can say that if during the assessment they find out that there's anything that is wrong with it, they will stop the trial, or it wouldn't even start.
And it wouldn't be coming at a time when you'd say it's too late.
Well, there's always the system of evaluating the potential risk, if there should be any, right from during the trial and beyond the trial. So as we speak, the Ghana Food and Drug Authority has a system that is able to identify any potential risk from any drug at all, even if it is licensed and we can just walk into the shops to buy it. If you have any adverse event, that can be reported to them. But in this instance, we are still in the pilot implementation phase. It's going to be more rigorous in looking for any potential risk, and then an assessment will be made by the regulatory authorities, and they'll make a decision on what to do next.
You've spoken about the previous trials that have been carried out successfully. I am assuming that there would be a few errors here and there that may have come up. Can you tell us about that?
So you're asking about a few errors?
Yeah, I mean, you've spoken about the risk level as well. So I'm trying to find out if we're done with the previous trial. Were there any errors? Were there any adverse effects that were detected at the beginning or during that trial?
Well, again, the trials were closely monitored by the Ghana Food and Drug Authority, and if there were any errors, they would have stopped the study or they would have asked us to correct it. But in terms of adverse events, for any product, there are potential adverse events. And in this instance, identifying adverse events was key to conducting the trial. And as of now, what we've learned from the trial is that when we gave the vaccines to the children who were between 5 to 17 months of age, there were slightly a higher proportion of children with a fever in the children that received the RTSS vaccine compared to those who did not receive it. Most of these febrile illnesses resolved within 7 days. The other aspect which we found was the fact that there was slightly a higher proportion, though the numbers were very few. But it's important for all regulatory authorities to follow this indication. There were a higher proportion of meningitis cases in those who received the RTSS than those who did not. And again, I'm talking about proportions, but it translates into very few numbers.
Okay.
That is the reason why we have to move on to a larger scale and look at whether this is really real or not. All the meningitis cases were judged not to be related to the vaccine anyway, but it's still important for us to follow it up and see whether it is a real risk.
And if it's a real feat, then what will it mean for the fight against malaria?
Well, if it's a real risk, or if there are adverse events that are so real and it's of safety concern, and let's remember that we don't want to introduce any vaccine or drug into the community when it's going to actually make them worse off. And that really is the job of the Ghana Food and Drugs Authority. They will sit down and look at it and tell us, no, we don't think this safety profile is good enough for our people in Ghana. And what would that mean for Ghana? That would mean we still would continue with our current tools that we use of bed nets. And indeed, even if this vaccine is introduced in the pilot stage and also in real life, beyond the pilot stage, it's going to be used together with the existing tools like the bed nets, like indoor residual spraying, use of artemisinin immediately when one has a fever. So it's all a mixed bag of tools. What it will mean is that we've moved one out of it, and that we still have to continue to enforce the use of these additional tools.
But obviously, the sense I get is that if the success you're seeing over the period should continue, then that means rapid reduction in the prevalence, the malaria prevalence, correct?
Yes, that's correct, and that's what we are looking at. I mean, if the current efficacy we see it continues, we expect an acceleration towards the reduction of malaria diseases in Ghana.
Okay, so from the launch today, and this will be my final question, sir, from the launch today, we understand that the prevalence has reduced from 20% to 4.4%. What's your reaction to that?
So you said the prevalence is reduced from
20 to 4.4%.
Well, today we had exciting news from the National Malaria Control Program and the Ghana Health Service that told us that the burden of malaria has reduced quite well over the period, and it's reduced right to about 20%. Right. It used to be about 50 to 70%, depending on where you are in this country. And as of now, we see about 20% of children walking around with malaria parasites. Unlike about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when we saw about 70% of the children with malaria parasites. So some successes have been chalked, and we are very excited about that as well.
So is this something that can be confirmed? I mean, is this something that resonates at the grassroots, so to speak? I mean, at the various hospitals, would you say?
Sorry, you asked, is this something that can be...
The statistics that we're getting from the control malaria control program, is this something that, I mean, as a doctor, you could say that resonates at the various hospitals, I mean, at the lowest hospitals, if you like, at that level?
Oh, yes. It really resonates at the lower level. I've been working in Kintampo for about 15 years, and at the time when I was there, you would go to a hospital and all you see are red humans. And you know what that was? It was blood transfusions that were being given to children. And it was so common. You were seeing children with cerebral malaria, and it was very common. Thankfully, these days, the numbers have reduced, and it's all because of the efforts that have been put together by our government, by the Ghana Health Service, by the National Malaria Control Program, by various partners across the world, and also the community members that have embraced the need to stop malaria forever.
Doc, thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse. I've been speaking to Dr. Kweku Asante there about the progress that Ghana appears to be making on the fight against malaria. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Piano.